Radio Toni with Toni Lontis, author of Resilience, memoir of a broken little girl discovering a woman of strength and beauty. Available now on Amazon.com and in all good bookstores. Radio Toni.
Your safe space for tough conversations, exposing secrets and talking about trauma and recovery.
Radio Toni.
Building resilience, talking trauma.
Radio Toni.
Live from the Gold Coast, Australia. Radio Toni, difficult conversations and bringing hope to listeners. Live from the Gold Coast, Australia on W4WN.
Good morning, Australia, and good evening, America, and everyone else worldwide. You're listening to Radio Toni today, and your host, Toni Lontis. I've got a great show for you today. You'll be hearing not only from my sponsors, Kerry and Tracy, but also from a wonderful new author called Brad Richard. And I'm happy to say we now have Brad online, and I'm so sorry that I've mixed up the times for you, Brad. But welcome to Radio Toni. How are you?
I am just fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you wonderfully well. I didn't realise that America's time zone had slotted on, and I've managed to completely mess up the times for today. So thank you for being able to come on early.
Well, that's okay. I was at a Chamber of Commerce event, and I just ran into the house, so I'm here.
I am so appreciative, so glad to have you here, Brad. So we've been waiting for this show for quite a while, and I'm going to actually talk through the next scheduled segments just to keep you on the line. So, Brad, you've written this amazing book called Man at 50. And so I thought we'd start by talking to our listeners talking about your childhood and starting at the very beginning. So you are one of 10 children in your family, aren't you?
Yes, I'm the baby.
The baby of 10, there's not many families that have 10 children nowadays. It was a common number of children many years ago, but not so common now. Brad, can you tell our listeners what your childhood was like?
Well, it was chaotic at times.
Yes.
There was quite a bit of dysfunction within the family, a lot of arguing, obviously. Some of it just normal arguing with that many kids in the house.
Yes.
There was abuse that occurred in my family.
Yeah.
A lot of the abuse was related to me, or I found out later in life what had happened between the siblings and some abuse that that did occur.
Yeah.
I myself, I believe that I was a victim of abuse by my siblings, but my recollection is cloudy.
Yes.
My visions are more like dreams, like cloudy dreams.
Yes.
And I don't have any, and that's probably a good thing. I don't have any clear recollection. So my father was a very he was very cold. He wasn't an affectionate man, and he kind of ruled the roost with an iron fist. That's how he was raised, and so none of the kids, including myself, really had a close relationship with him.
Yeah,
and basically the dysfunction came from inappropriate situations where, with that many kids, the children, they shared beds because there wasn't enough beds to go around for all the children. So the boys slept in the same beds as the girls and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that did lead to some, inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how deep you want me to go into it, because it's in the book. It's, the
Yes.
first 50 years of my life. So there's a
Yes.
lot of details in there.
Yes. Yes, there is. It is. They're more. The abuse was more about a situational effect. So the fact that there were 10 kids and not enough beds, and that you had to share, and some of that normal finding out about sexuality happened in a situation that was abnormal, I guess you could say, Brad.
Right. Nobody really had any privacy.
Yes.
No one had the opportunity to, as you say, explore their sexuality, but do it in private.
Yes.
I mean, everything was pretty much shared, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the effects of that dysfunctional childhood had definite impacts on you moving into adulthood. Do you want to tell us about some of those things, Brad?
Well, to start off with, I was pretty much resented by my siblings. Now, keep in mind, some of my older siblings, they had moved out and they were living their own lives.
Yes.
As when I was born, I mean, some of them were old enough to be on their own and have their own relationships and families.
Yeah, when you were born, one of your older sister was 17 years older than you.
Right. My older sister, and her name in the book is Meg.
Yes.
We share a birth date, and we were both born on the same day, but 17 years apart. So we've always kind of, our lives have been those of twins, even though there was 17 years between us. We've always been very close.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the household when I was growing up because she was one of the older siblings. Yes. But there was a lot of resentment. I was, being the baby of the family, I was spoiled and I was treated differently. The discipline was different for me. It wasn't as harsh because they kind of, put a stop to it by the time I came around.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of resentment and a lot of control by my siblings because I was an easy target. I was easier to control than our dad was. Yeah. So I was kind of targeted for that. And, basically being insecure and disruptive and talkative and, the baby of the family seeking for attention because everyone was fighting for attention in that large of a family.
Yeah.
And it basically, for me, I sought out attention from siblings and friends and pretty much anybody that would, listen to me. I was in front of. But my father, when it came to my father, one of the hardest things growing up was my relationship with him.
Yes.
Any affection that I would show to him, whether it be a kiss goodnight or just to touch his hand or any kind of affection, he would question my sexuality and ask me if I was gay or if I was queer or whatever term he would use. And he just wouldn't allow me to get close to him in any way, when it comes to from a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
And so that really set me up for a lot of challenges as I grew older.
Yeah. And it caused you to try and prove yourself as well, didn't it? You were always...
Yes, definitely. When I started, dating, and when I started to notice girls at a young age,
yes.
I sought out older girls to date. Because I was looking for a mother figure. I had a great relationship with my mother, but I sought out, the wrong type of girls.